Hi everyone, my name is John, and today, I'm going to delve into a chilling tale that gripped headlines. This story is not just about triumph, but also about a shocking fall from grace. It begins in the summer of 2012, during the vibrant and globally watched London Olympics, where a young Puerto Rican boxer, Felix Sanchez, captivated the world. He was heralded as a diamond, one of the brightest prospects Puerto Rico had ever produced. Expected to win titles and gold medals, Felix's future seemed destined for greatness, his talent and drive pointing straight to the top. But fast forward to 2021, and Felix's name was circling the globe again, not for his athletic prowess, but as a key figure in a criminal case. This turn of events is a grim tale of how a teenage attachment morphed into a toxic obsession, leading to a horrific tragedy. It's also the story of how Felix, once celebrated and even touted by the two-time Olympic champion Vasily Lomachenko, found himself facing a potential death sentence, only to end up with a life sentence in prison. Despite overwhelming evidence and the confessions of an accomplice, Felix to this day denies any guilt. Felix was born in the lively city of San Juan, Puerto Rico, on May 19, 1993. He grew up in a large, modest family. From a young age, he was passionate about sports. Initially, Felix dreamed of a career in baseball, but his path took a dramatic turn due to a childhood incident. At the age of 9, during a visit from a family friend who brought along a son of the same age, Felix got into a fight with the boy. The scuffle ended with their parents breaking it up, and Felix's father made a remark that would change the course of his son's life. He suggested that if Felix wanted to fight, he should do it with boxing gloves on. Taking his father's words to heart, Felix asked to be enrolled in a local gym. There, he instantly fell in love with boxing. His dedication was evident as he quickly ascended through the ranks of the sport. By 16, he clinched the Pan American Junior Championships. The following year, he won the national championship in Puerto Rico, and soon after, he competed in the 2012 Olympics in London, reaching the quarterfinals. Felix's professional career was equally stellar. He fought 29 times, securing 27 victories, many of them by knockout. In 2014, he was lauded for delivering the Knockout of the Year against Sergio Villanueva. By the next year, he won the WBO Latino title, which he defended multiple times over 2 years. His prowess in the ring led many to believe that he was on a fast track to becoming a legend in world boxing. Now, let's shift focus to another key person in this story, Keishla Rodriguez. Born in November 1993 in San Juan, Keishla Marlene Rodriguez Ortiz was raised in a loving family with her parents, Jose and Keishla Rodriguez, her sister Bears Nicole, and her stepbrother Jonathan from her mother's previous marriage. Keishla was bright, outgoing, and performed well in school. She had a profound love for animals and aspired to become a veterinarian. Keishla and Felix went to the same school and had known each other since they were children. Their friendship blossomed into a romantic relationship during their teenage years, around 2011. Their relationship, marked by its ups and downs, would later become a focal point in a narrative that shifted dramatically from the sports pages to the criminal section of newspapers worldwide. Life took a tumultuous turn for Keishla Rodriguez when her parents decided to divorce. Amidst the upheaval, her mother Keishla relocated to Florida, leaving Keishla and her sister Bears, both now adults, to forge their paths in San Juan. Despite the physical distance between them and their mother, the sisters maintained a tight bond, frequently sharing the minutiae of their lives, from triumphs to setbacks. Meanwhile, Felix, fresh from his Olympic debut and burgeoning boxing career, found himself embroiled in a complicated love life. At just 18, he started a relationship with Elisa Maria Santiago Sierra, a 14-year-old schoolgirl with aspirations of modeling. The relationship, given the green light by Elisa's parents, quickly blossomed amidst plans for a shared future. Felix, known for his magnetic charm and rising fame, attracted many admirers, and his romantic engagements didn't end with Elisa. Despite his serious relationship with Elisa, Felix continued to see Keishla, his childhood sweetheart. This secret was known to Keisha's sister, Bears, and her mother, Keishla, both of whom disapproved of the ongoing affair. The situation was rife with contradictions. On one side, Elisa viewed herself as Felix's true love and future wife. blissfully unaware of his infidelities. On the other, Keishla, deeply in love with Felix since their school days, held on to a hope that perhaps she could be his one true love, despite knowing about his engagement to Elisa. In 2016, Felix and Elisa tied the knot. By then, Elisa had made a name for herself as a model and social media influencer and had opened a beauty studio specializing in eyelash extensions. Their wedding seemed to mark the beginning of a new chapter, but just months later, Felix suffered severe injuries in a motorcycle accident. The accident left him hospitalized with head injuries and multiple lacerations. His trainer, Ricky Marquez, was deeply concerned that Felix might never return to his peak form. However, Felix made a miraculous recovery and was soon back in the ring, defying all dire predictions. In September 2019, Felix shared a touching moment on social media, a picture of Elisa heavily pregnant, captioned with anticipation of meeting his daddy's princess. The following month, he joyously announced the birth of their daughter, Miranda Verdejo Santiago. Publicly, Felix portrayed himself as a devoted husband and father, an image of familial perfection. However, beneath this veneer of an idyllic family life, Felix continued his clandestine meetings with Keishla. Elisa suspected the infidelity. Felix would break down and promise to end the affair, yet never did. Keishla herself was caught in a cycle of pain and attachment, attempting to sever ties, only to be pulled back in by Felix's persistent refusals to let her go. This toxic back and forth gnawed at her resolve, trapping her in a situation that promised more heartache than happiness. Keishla Rodriguez had envisioned a life surrounded by animals, her lifelong passion. Fulfilling this dream, she successfully secured a position at a veterinary center specializing in medicine and aesthetics. Her colleagues admired her dedication, describing her as hardworking and highly responsible. Keishla's personal life, filled with the companionship of her 2 dogs and a cat, seemed to bring her joy, a stark contrast to the tumult of her romantic entanglements. The ongoing affair with Felix, however, was fraught with control and threats. Despite knowing Felix was married and had a daughter, Keishla's love for him, which began in high school, hadn't waned. Felix's behavior became increasingly possessive, threatening harm if Keishla were to find comfort in another's arms. This left her isolated, tethered to a man who could not offer her the future she deserved. In 2020, Eliza, Felix's wife, stumbled upon messages that exposed his infidelities, including his ongoing affair with Keishla. Enraged, she confronted Felix, kicking him out and threatening divorce and to restrict his access to their daughter. These threats seemed to momentarily sway Felix, and for a time, he ceased his visits to Keishla. However, the lure of their connection wasn't easily dismissed, and secret meetings soon resumed. By April 2021, Keishla's life took an unexpected turn. She was pregnant. Panic initially gripped her as she confirmed her fears with a pregnancy test from a local drugstore. After sharing the news with her sister, who had been a confidant through her rocky relationship, Keishla resolved to keep the baby. Despite Felix's volatile potential reaction, she hoped somewhere in her heart that he might embrace the prospect of their child. When Keishla broke the news to Felix, his reaction was far from joyous. Angered and fearful of the scandal an illegitimate child would cause, he demanded she terminate the pregnancy. Keishla's firm refusal only intensified his fury. Felix's insistence was relentless, as he feared the damage the news could do to his already waning boxing career. Determined to prove her sincerity, Keishla agreed to meet Felix in a public place to show him the medical confirmation of her pregnancy, a setting they chose often to avoid public scrutiny. But unknown to her, Felix had already devised a dark plan. He reached out to Luis Antonio Cadiz, an old acquaintance with criminal connections, imploring him to help eliminate the problem. Despite Luis's initial hesitations due to his own brushes with the law, Felix's promise of a hefty payout persuaded him to agree. As the planned day approached, Felix set the meeting for the evening of April 29th. Eager and anxious, Keishla hoped for a resolution, perhaps even a positive turn in their relationship. After setting the details, she called her sister again, sharing everything about the upcoming meeting and her mixed feelings of hope and apprehension. Keishla Rodriguez harbored a faint hope that Felix would accept her pregnancy and cease his insistence on an abortion. Despite her sister Bear's deep concerns about Felix's aggressive behavior and threats, Kayla felt compelled to meet him, believing perhaps that seeing the doctor's confirmation would change his mind. At the agreed time, Kayla drove to the designated meeting spot in her Kia Forte. Felix arrived in his pickup truck, discreetly transporting Luis in the back. Without hesitation, Kayla joined Felix in his vehicle and presented the medical documents confirming her pregnancy. Felix's reaction was grim. He reiterated his demand for an abortion. As Kayla tearfully refused, their conversation escalated into a full-blown quarrel, culminating in Felix striking Kayla, causing her to lose consciousness. In these dire moments, Felix acted with chilling precision. He retrieved a syringe filled with a high dose of illegal drugs, prepared earlier by Luis, and injected Kayla, ensuring she remained unconscious. Felix and Luis then bound her with wire, weighed her down with a concrete block, and concealed her body under a tarp in the back of the truck. The two men drove to the desolate bridge over San Jose Lagoon. Ensuring the coast was clear, they callously threw Kayla, still alive but incapacitated, into the water below. To eliminate any chance of survival, they fired several shots into the water where they had discarded her body. After the grim deed, each man returned home as if nothing had happened. The next day, when Kayla failed to show up for work at the Veterinary Medicine and Aesthetics Center, her absence alarmed her colleagues. Known for her reliability, her unexplained no-show prompted calls to her family. When her sister Bears couldn't reach her, she visited Kayla's home, finding only the hungry pets who had been left unattended. Panicked and fearing the worst, Bears alerted their mother and the police, conveying her suspicions and the threats Kayla had faced. She even reached out to Felix, who feigned ignorance, claiming he had been home all evening. The missing woman's mother, Keishla, flew in from Florida, clinging to hope that Felix might have coerced Kayla into an unwanted abortion at a private clinic, refusing to entertain the grim possibility of her daughter's death. The police investigation began with routine inquiries among Kayla's neighbors and colleagues, who noticed nothing unusual. Meanwhile, the case gained traction on social media, with the public urged to share any information about Kayla's whereabouts, especially given her connection to a renowned athlete and her pregnancy. The search for Keishla Rodriguez thus unfolded amid growing public interest and media scrutiny, painting a portrait of a troubled relationship entangled with a celebrity sports figure, a narrative that only intensified as details of her disappearance spread. The tragic discovery of Keishla Rodriguez's body transformed her story into a focal point for national outrage and media frenzy. Reporters eagerly sought interviews with anyone connected to Rodriguez, especially her family members, who openly voiced their suspicions and directly implicated Felix in the grim events. They detailed their fears and the turbulent relationship between Keishla and Felix, adding emotional depth to the already gripping narrative. On April 30th, the city's uneasy attention shifted when Keishla's Kia Forte was found abandoned on the east side of the city. The car contained her personal belongings and documents, but no signs of struggle were apparent inside, which provided a sliver of hope that she might still be found alive. However, this hope was short-lived. The very next day, a passerby walking over the bridge above the San Jose Lagoon noticed an odd shape in the shallow waters below. Alerting the police led to the heartbreaking confirmation that the body recovered was indeed Keishla's. Although her body was severely affected by the days in water, she was unmistakably identified by a distinctive tattoo on her arm. As the news of Keishla's death spread, the city erupted in grief and anger. Residents spontaneously gathered, staging rallies and demanding justice for Keishla and accountability for her killers. Amidst this public outcry, Felix was brought in for questioning by the police. Despite his vehement denials and his claim of having been at home on the night Keishla disappeared, inconsistencies in his story soon emerged. His initial release on his own recognizance did little to quell the public or investigative fervor. Eliza, Felix's wife, became a pivotal figure in the case during her interrogation. Although she acknowledged her husband's infidelity with Keishla, she was shocked to learn of the pregnancy and contradicted Felix's alibi by confirming he was not home on the night of the murder. This statement significantly weakened Felix's defense. Investigators diligently reviewed traffic surveillance footage, which captured Felix's pickup truck and Keisha's Kia Forte traveling together towards the bridge, clearly showing that Keisha was not driving her own car. This evidence led to the seizure and forensic examination of Felix's vehicle, where investigators discovered hair belonging to Keisha, further implicating Felix in her death. Luis, Felix's accomplice, was the first to break under the pressure. He turned himself in, hoping to mitigate his punishment by cooperating with the authorities and revealing the details of their plan. Unlike Luis, Felix remained uncooperative, refusing to engage with the investigation and maintaining his innocence despite the mounting evidence against him. A firearm, officially registered to Felix and identified as being used to shoot at Keishla in the water, was confiscated, and cell phone records substantiated the claims that Felix, Luis, and Keishla were together near the bridge on that fatal evening. The national attention reached its peak with Keishla's funeral on May 8th, broadcasted across the country. The ceremony was a somber affair, attended by many who followed her story, a tragic testament to a life cut brutally short and a community's resolve to seek justice for a beloved local who fell victim to a terrible crime. The funeral of Keishla Rodriguez became not only a solemn farewell but also a powerful call to action against gender violence and a demand for justice. Her coffin, carried not in a traditional hearse but a white carriage strewn with white flower petals from above, symbolized purity and mourning. The ceremony drew attention from across Puerto Rico, with celebrities, athletes, politicians, and public figures uniting in condemnation of the heinous crime and expressing their sorrow and outrage. In the judicial aftermath, Felix Verdejo faced severe charges including carjacking, kidnapping, premeditated murder, and the murder of an unborn child. These charges could have led to the death penalty. However, from the onset, Keishla's family requested a life sentence instead, preferring a punishment that would see Felix confined and reflecting on his crimes for life. The trial itself faced delays due to the global coronavirus pandemic, but eventually proceeded in virtual mode. The evidence presented was damning, particularly the testimony of Luis, who confessed his involvement in the preparation and execution of the crime. He admitted to obtaining the drugs used to sedate Keishla, as well as the materials used to weigh down her body in the water. Despite Felix's persistent denials of any involvement, the array of evidence against him, including digital data and forensic findings, painted a clear picture of his guilt. In a sad turn of personal affairs, Felix's wife, Elisa, filed for divorce shortly after his arrest. She sought to distance herself from the scandal, focusing on her eyelash extension business and caring for their young daughter, Miranda. Unfortunately, Elisa faced significant backlash, with anonymous threats being made against her and Miranda, reflecting the public's anger and confusion regarding who was truly responsible for orchestrating the crime. As the trial drew to a close in 2023, the jury was ready to deliver its verdict after reviewing all the evidence and hearing from all witnesses. Both Felix Verdejo and his accomplice, Luis Keishla, were found guilty on all counts. However, the sentencing was deferred, with a further hearing scheduled for mid-November 2023. It is anticipated that both men will receive life sentences without the possibility of parole, a somber conclusion to a tragic saga. Thank you for following this story with me, John. Stay tuned and subscribe to the channel for more riveting stories like this one. There are many more unfolding stories ahead.